softly creeping, left it seat while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains in the sound of silence. Oh, hello! Welcome back, everybody. I got so many good suggestions after that last video. Everybody's like, hey, Mr. Stevens, you should keep your mask on the whole time so we don't have to look at your face. Also, you should not have any props. And yeah, don't ramble quite so much. Maybe have a script. So, obviously, I have the mask on, but I'm going to take it off now because I can't breathe. Oh. And then the props thing, I just had one. And then a mask, yeah, I got a new one. Isn't it great? Look at that. And it really helps with coronavirus because people stay away from you because they think you're being strange. If they look at me odd, I just say, I'm Batman, and they go away. It's fantastic. Script? No. Ramble? Yeah, you know me. I'm going to ramble. But anyway, what we're here to talk about today, and I try not to take up quite so much of your time. I realize 10 minutes is so very much, but deal with it. What we're talking about today is the Scopes Monkey Trial article that you were to have read, and it is due on Sunday, and if you haven't read it yet, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. But I just wanted to record this, talk a little bit about it, get the big ideas out, make sure you guys are thinking about it in the right direction. So, first thing you need to know, here's a quick little summary. There's this organization called the ACLU, and there's a link there in blue. It takes you to their website, and it'll give you all the information you need about it. They stand up for people's basic rights, and in this case, they saw this law, the Butler Law that you read, and they said, that's not okay, right? We need to do something about this, and so they did. They set up Scopes. They're like, hey, Scopes, you want to do a thing? And Scopes is like, sure, I'll do a thing. And so he starts teaching biology and evolution, and he's not supposed to because the law says you have to teach creationism. And they arrest him. He goes on trial, and they find him guilty for $100 fine. But it's just the first step. As you guys well know, there are so many steps in the court system. And this is the first one for them, and they take it on up to the higher levels. And how that works, like think about today, right? Coronavirus. We got states like Texas that are coming in and they're saying you cannot have an abortion, and they basically pass a law that says that during this whole coronavirus crisis. But then a federal court comes in and like, nope, you actually can't pass that law. And so that's our system of checks and balances. Obviously, you're very well familiar with those. And that's how it works. But this is the first step in the process. So, who's who and what side are they on? Is it the cute doggy or the cute doggy? And I think it's the cute doggy. Or probably not the dude wearing Crocs and socks in the background. Wow, I didn't even see that until now. Ramble much? Yes, actually, I do. But anyway, so here we go. We got the defense. And in the book, in the play, Inherit the Wind, if you've started reading it, you're going to see there's Bertram Cates, Henry Drummond, E.K. Hornbeck. And obviously I include Charles Darwin in here because he's the guy upon whom they're relying for their information. Now in the real world, Bertram Cates, Henry Drummond, E.K. Hornbeck, they do exist. They have real life counterparts, and here they are. Bertram Cates is John Scopes. Henry Drummond is Clarence Darrow, and E.K. Hornbeck is H.L. Mencken. Now John Scopes is basically a nobody. He was just a teacher that was willing to step up and take one for the team here. Clarence Darrow is a pretty famous lawyer at the time. He's got a whole Wikipedia page. You can check it out at your leisure. H.L. Mencken was a prolific writer. He had a lot of good stuff that he wrote about. He was a reporter for the Baltimore Herald, I believe. I might be wrong about the name of the paper. However, he has a few suspect views on race, which was kind of a thing back then. For a lot of people, unfortunately. Product of the time, product of the ignorance, product of a lot of things. We're going to try to look beyond that when we take a look at the way that he he talks. And again, it's his character in the play, E.K. Hornbeck, very similarly is very cynical. He comes from this kind of like point of view of where, what's wrong with these bumpkins? Anyway, so we'll look at that less and try not to spend too much time dwelling on his suspect racial situation. And these guys are all on the side of science. Remember the question? Like, which is more important, science or religion? Again, that's one of those I like to sit on the fence questions, right? Because they're both pretty defensible. Anyway, so they're on the side of science. Here's Charles Darwin. Here's the science. That's the dude right there. It's not Santa Claus. That is old Chucky Darwin. He wrote the book On the Origin of Species. And there's a link to it right there. You click on that, it will take you to Project Gutenberg, and it will literally have the entire text, the 6th edition of Darwin's book On the Origin of Species, which he based on his theory of natural selection, evolution through natural selection, basically survival of the fittest. And there's at that link, you'll find detailed information about that. It's a very, very brief explanation of the whole idea behind it. Basically, there are traits that people have, sorry, not people, animals, whatever, that they pass on to the future generations, and only those that are the fittest will pass those on. Those that are not able to will die off. And the species will improve going forward through evolution. And ramble. Anyway, so check those links out if you want more information about Charles Darwin. All right, moving on to the other side, the prosecution. We've got the state. Now again, in the play, the setting is vague. Hillsborough, not too long ago. Okay, and so you've got the state, and you've got Matthew Harrison Brady, Davenport, and creationism is their big idea behind what they're doing. All right. Now, again, in the real world, Matthew Harrison Brady has an equivalent. Davenport, not so much. So the state of Tennessee is where the trial of Scopes took place, and William Jennings Bryan, because there's more than one Jennings there, is the big lawyer that they pull in this particular case, and he is a 3-time presidential candidate that never actually won, and he is known for his chautauquas and things like that, where he would go and speak on the Bible and things. And their big idea is creationism or religion. And so again, they're on the other side of things. And what's interesting about the case is that in the real world, like Clarence Darrow pulled William Jennings Bryan up onto the stage. He pulled the prosecuting attorney up onto the witness stand and got him to testify. And it was that testimony that they used later on, which kind of undid the whole argument that William Jennings Bryan, God, there's so many Jennings in there, was using. All right, cool. So moving on. What are those things? Well, creationism, right? We talked about Darwin and his theory of evolution. Well, here's a quick little snippet on creationism. Basically, the idea is a divine entity is responsible for all the things. Like there is, and it comes from in Christianity, it comes from the first book in that book, Genesis, that talks about how and the why that took place based upon that divine entity. And now, is it intelligent design? That's a good question. A lot of people equate the two. You click that link, it'll take you to a really short little article on NPR that has a good explanation of the difference between the two. So if you're interested in having a little bit more information about that, you can check that link, and you probably should. So basically, it calls into question the whole separation of church and state, and I know that you guys have probably handled this with Miss Kellis in social studies. And basically, this whole idea of separation of church and state comes from Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists, and that is linked under Thomas Jefferson's letter. And then underneath that is the Constitution, and it's not a link to the Constitution, it's a link to basically the fact that it's not in the Constitution. Right? We do not have a clause in the Constitution that says there will be a separation of church and state. It does not exist. And so there's a little bit more information there, which makes it complicated, right? Because we all pretty much operate under the notion that there should be a separation of church and state. And it is an interesting point that we don't have that written down in our Constitution. And it seems to get in the way of things. Again, back to that Texas abortion law. There are many states that base their abortion arguments on arguments heavily vetted in religion. And so, does it have a place there? Should it be there? Right? These are good. These are interesting questions that come up. And again, so check those two links out. Read through Thomas Jefferson's letter and the other piece. They're both very short, and they give you a good background bit of information about each of those things. Get you thinking a little bit. And it seems like, should we have something in the Constitution that clearly separates the two, right? So then, wrapping the whole thing up, again, you got this trial. It takes place, and it is huge. It's the media circus. And again, the national attention that it draws is immense. And today, it's like no big deal, right? Everything, we got Twitter, we got Facebooks, we got Instagrams, we got social media, we got 24/7 news coverage constantly. My phone told me just a few minutes ago, and I know it breaks my heart, Justin Bieber's tour has been postponed because of coronavirus. But back in 1925, the widespread media coverage wasn't as easy, nowhere near as simple as what it is today. And so for it to have garnered as much attention as it did was a really big thing, all right? So again, it was huge, drew a lot of attention, got a lot of people polarized on either side of what was going on. And a bit anticlimactic at the end with Scopes losing and having to pay his fine. But again, like I said before, it's the first step in that process, moving on. So then what I want you to do now is I'm going to post up a Google Classroom question, and this is it. Why do you think the ACLU wanted to challenge the Butler Law? What freedoms were at stake for those people, for not just the teacher, but the students as well, and the other people around who this impacted, right? So that's, again, think about why they wanted to challenge that law. And what freedoms were at stake. Think about the Constitution. Think about the fact that there is no clause in the Constitution that says there should be a separation of church and state, right? So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed video number the 2nd, which this has been, and hopefully you are also staying healthy and washing your hands and not breathing too deeply around those other 8 people. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Anyhow, don't forget, if you have any questions, please email me. I get back to people as quickly as I can. And also, don't reveal my secret identity. I am very happy being Batman for the rest of at least today. Have a great day, and I will see you back on here sometime soon. Also, I know that Loom does not work at this point with your Google Chrome accounts. Tech specialist Miss Wolf used a Chromebook. Under her account, she could access. Under a student account, she could not. So IT is blocking us, right? And YouTube, right? If I upload these videos to YouTube, they block. YouTube's a pain in the neck. So I think I will then just put this as a link into Google Drive until Loom gets fixed, because I like this format. Anyway, most of you did as well. So yeah, anyway, everything's still due on Sunday. I'll probably post this up today. Right now is Wednesday. I will probably post this tomorrow morning, Thursday, for you guys to check out. Hopefully this is not too long, but now I'm going to ramble, and then I will stare off into space pensively for 6 to 8 hours.